This is the wrong guy for the position. 6 parliaments and 6 governments in Belgium? I'm so confused. What city is that? Because that is stunningly beautiful. Insane video. What is up? Welcome back. Today I'm reacting to a video titled Why Belgium's Prime Minister Thinks Belgium Shouldn't Exist. I did a video recently discovering Belgium and the country blew me away. Seriously, I was completely stunned and shocked. If you didn't see it, check it out after this one. But Belgium is a country I will be exploring more of in the future, so shout out to you, all my Belgian friends. What's up? My name is Aaron, and this is Aaron Honor Reacts. On this channel, I'm discovering everything about every European country. The people, the culture, the sports, the history, the music, the food, the people. I think I said people twice, but anyways, you get the point. I'm literally learning everything about each country. I post videos every single day, so make sure you hit like and subscribe. You're going to see another one just like this one in the future. But now let's get into why Belgium shouldn't exist. Let's go.
Last week, Belgium celebrated its National Day. But for Belgian Prime Minister Bart De Wever, it was not much of a celebration.
What day, sorry, real quick, what day is that? Is the National Day?
When asked by journalists, Prime Minister De Wever refused to say Vive la Belgique, or Long Live Belgium. This was not an accidental faux pas, because as a Flemish nationalist, De Wever doesn't really think Belgium should exist.
Wait, what?
In fact, just a couple of years ago, De Wever said he would die happier as a southern Dutchman than as a Belgian.
This is the wrong guy for the position. If I'm a Belgian person, I don't think I would support this prime minister because he doesn't support the country. This I don't understand. Maybe this is a historical thing because he said he's on the Flemish side, which I guess is south of Netherlands. So he's basically a southern Dutchman. My Belgian friends, what do you think?
And earlier this year said that the separation of what is now Belgium from the Netherlands was, quote, the greatest disaster that has ever befallen us. So in this video, we're going to explore the Flemish separatist movement, explain how De Wever reluctantly became Prime Minister, and whether or not he could actually split the country up.
This is deep.
If you're interested in the political alliances and groupings, it shows in the countries linked together. Check out the poster by clicking the link in the description. For those of you who don't already know, Belgium is made up of 3 regions. Flanders in the north, which is predominantly Dutch-speaking, Wallonia, primarily French-speaking, in the south, and Brussels, the capital, which is bilingual.
Oh, wait, Brussels is both. Okay. By the way, I know this is going to spark a huge debate in the comments, but which side is better? Which side is more Belgian? Because from what they were saying earlier, the Flanders side seems to think that they're part of Netherlands and not part of Wallonia in Greater Belgium. What do you think?
Bilingual. But De Wever, meanwhile, is certainly an interesting character. He has, for example, been voted Politician of the Year and Dick of the Year several times each, even managing to win both awards in the same year. But more importantly, over the past 2 decades, he's taken his new Flemish Alliance Party, or N-VA, from essentially political irrelevance to being the largest political force in the country, with it consistently being the largest party in both the Flemish and federal parliaments for more than a decade. And De Wever ultimately became Prime Minister earlier this year. His policy proposals, particularly on Flemish separatism, have shifted and largely moderated over the years. But he is ultimately still a believer in independence for Flanders, and based on some of his comments, is apparently emotionally attached to the idea of Dutch reunification, even if it's not a part of his political platform, which we'll come back to later. Flemish separatists, ranging from autonomists to outright secessionists, usually make their case by pointing to socio-economic, political and cultural divides between Flanders and Wallonia, with their main complaints being that the current setup is a recipe for infamous political gridlock, and that as the wealthier, more populous region, Flanders is a net contributor to the federal budget, while Wallonia, the less wealthy region with higher unemployment, is a net recipient. In fact,
Really? Okay, so there's a lot of beef here between Flanders and Wallonia. Basically, what this is saying is that Wallonia is not pulling their side of the, holding their side of the deal, I guess, with Flanders. I don't know. This all sounds a little interesting to me. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about it. I'm learning about it now. But what do you think about this? Is this unfair? Is this too far? Is it accurate? What do you think?
De Wever once controversially likened interregional transfers to Wallonia to drugs for a junkie. For context, Belgium emerged as an independent kingdom through the 1830 Belgian Revolution against Dutch Protestant rule. But the Flemish movement first emerged largely as a cultural movement, seeking equal linguistic rights for the Dutch-speaking majority, as newly independent Belgium was dominated by a French-speaking Walloon ruling class. In the decades after World War II, Flemish nationalism strengthened as a political force, driven by a shift in Belgium's economic centre of gravity. Wallonia, previously the wealthier region, suffered sharp industrial decline, while Flanders, once an agricultural backwater, enjoyed an economic boom, spurred by growth in light industry, services, commerce and trade. Throughout the 1960s, the People's Union made gains at successive elections. This was a big tent Flemish nationalist party that included Flemings from federalists to secessionists. Its growth contributed to a series of major state reforms that, from 1970 to 1993, turned Belgium into a pretty uniquely complex federal state, divided along regional and linguistic/cultural lines. In short, Belgium is divided into 3 regions, dealing with so-called hard matters like the economy, infrastructure and employment, and 3 language-based communities, dealing with soft matters like education, health and welfare, leaving the country with a total of 6 parliaments and 6 governments. The move...
6 parliaments and 6 governments in Belgium? I'm so confused. So is there 6 prime ministers? Is that what he's about to say? Or what's going on here in Belgium? I'm lost.
Towards federalism did not satisfy the secessionists and further right factions of the Flemish movement, which formed Flemish Bloc, a far-right anti-immigration secessionist party that grew considerably through the 1990s and early 2000s, eclipsing the declining People's Union and becoming one of the most popular parties in Flanders by 2004, before it was dissolved after being convicted of discrimination. These days, the Flemish nationalist movement is represented by 2 main parties, the New Flemish Alliance, or NVA, and Flemish Interest. As we've mentioned, the NVA is the party of Prime Minister De Wever, and
this is 10 months ago, so I imagine this is still relevant. Is this still the number 1 party in Belgium, or has it shifted?
In his 2-decade leadership, he's transformed it from a single-issue party into a distinctly conservative party with broader appeal. De Wever softened the party's position on independence, and while that does remain its ultimate dream, it sees this as a longer-term gradual project. For now, officially advocating for what it calls confederalism, a setup that would see the regions basically take on all powers and responsibilities, except only those few that are voluntarily ceded to a jointly run confederal level. Flemish Interest, meanwhile, considered a far-right party, is more forcefully pro-independence, stating that it wants to bring about the orderly division of Belgium, a negotiated process that would be kick-started by a declaration of sovereignty.
Do you actually think that would happen? I mean, that seems like it would be really extremely difficult to happen with all the logistics and everything going on. I don't know how divided Belgium already is, but for it to actually split by choice, that seems quite interesting to me. The only other country I can think of right now off the top of my head that's split like this is Czechoslovakia, between Czechia and Slovakia, but I don't know the reason for the split. Maybe it's similar, maybe it's different, I don't know. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think of I don't even know if that one's voluntary, I'm not sure, but yeah, this would be pretty shocking to me if this actually happened. Really, I wouldn't understand. Obviously, I'm not Belgian, but I don't know. Seems like maybe they're better together as a big country. Don't know.
It's the successor of the dissolved Flemish Bloc, but did not see its own support surge until the latter half of the 2010s, when, like many other anti-establishment European parties, it made significant gains, thanks to its staunchly anti-immigration nationalistic stance, though a cordon sanitaire has kept it out of government at the Flemish and federal level. Right up until the 2024 election, Flemish Interest had looked set to win both the Flemish and federal parliamentary elections, in what would have been a double first. However, De Wever's NVA managed to defy the polls and place first in both elections. A federal coalition led by De Wever's NVA was one of few viable options due to parliamentary arithmetic, and after more than 200 days of negotiations, an agreement was reached that made De Wever, begrudgingly, Belgium's first Flemish nationalist prime minister in early February.
Well, okay.
But But don't be fooled into thinking that this means that Flemish independence or even confederalism is on the horizon anytime soon. Firstly, the reality of coalition politics means that Bart De Wever is not really in the position to pursue it. And
okay, interesting. So it's kind of one of those things where he can say whatever he wants and just talk. Kind of say whatever he wants and just talk, but he actually can't do anything. That makes sense. I'm still confused though. Is he the only prime minister? Is there multiple prime ministers? How does that work in Belgium? Because the way he talked about it at the beginning, it sounded like there were 6 governments, which means 6 prime ministers. I don't understand. Or maybe he's the only one because they have majority. Yeah, I'm a bit confused. Maybe it's even complex for you. I'm not sure. Let's keep going.
And in fact, the only institutional reform set out in the coalition agreement is to abolish the Senate. And while it says De Wever will draw up proposals for further state reform, these are by no means guaranteed to come to fruition. In the meantime, the main priorities for reform appear to be socio-economic ones, with major changes set out for tax, pensions and the labour market. And secondly, there isn't actually majority support for independence, despite the recent success of separatist parties in Flanders. At the 2024 Flemish election, the N-VA and Flemish Interest won a combined 47% of the vote.
Wow.
But remember that officially the N-VA advocates for confederalism, not secession. And a pre-election poll found that Flemish voters put migration and the economy at the top of their list of the most important issues.
Wait a second, migration, okay. So is there a lot of migration problems in Belgium? Haven't seen much about that, but I know a lot of countries in Europe are having migration issues in general, and I guess Belgium's one of those. If you're from Belgium, you're one of my Belgian friends, would you please let me know? How is the situation? Is there, I imagine there's a lot of Americans there because I guess Americans are kind of everywhere really, but I don't imagine they're too much of an issue in the Belgian society. If that's what's causing a problem, I'm not actually sure, but I'd be interested to hear from you. What is really the problem in Belgium right now? Because it seems like it's migration and economy based on this.
While just 4% said it was the structure of the state. Nevertheless, it remains to be seen whether De Wever learns to love what is already quite an unforgiving job. But for now, the slightly surreal reality of a Flemish separatist Belgian Prime Minister continues, and barring snap elections, he may well be the one who has to plan and oversee.
Wait a second, what city is that? Because that is stunningly beautiful. I really, really want to visit wherever that is. That looks nice.
The 200th anniversary of Belgian independence in 2030.
Insane video. 2030 is going to be here before we know it, really. Also, how long does the prime minister in Belgium last? Is it a 5-year election term? 200 years of Belgium being a country is coming up very quickly. And will it be a country in the future? I guess that's the question that it seems like is always at the horizon after watching this video. But I really enjoyed it. I literally can't wait to learn more about Belgium. I'm going to do some more videos. Of course, I'm going to keep exploring this beautiful country. Look at this image. It's really, really stunning. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned something, and if you want to see another video just like this, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You're going to see another one in the future. As always, I got to give a shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for being a channel member. It means the world to me that you are joining me on this journey. And I hope all of you who watched the video today have the best day ever. And I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers.